Hello, I'm Anna Delaney, and I'm thrilled to be joined by Poornima DeBolle, CPO and co-founder at Menlo Security. Really good to see you, Poornima.
Thank you, Anna. Thanks for having me.
So we're talking about the secure enterprise browser. Just start with the definition. How do you define the secure enterprise browser, and how does it differ from other browsers?
Yeah, so it's a great question and get asked that all the time. So the way I do it, I categorize it as today, if you look at the browser, it is serving, take Chrome, for example, it's serving about 2.5 billion users across the world. That's a third of the world population. And for that, it has so many features that includes, you can play games on it, you can watch videos on it, and so feature rich when it comes to a browser. And when you think about an enterprise and what people do in an enterprise, they don't need all of those features. So the difference that I describe is a secure enterprise browser is a browser that's fit for finish for an enterprise, rather than all of the feature capabilities that the 2 billion plus people in the world needed, right? So that's kind of the base first set of a definition. And of course, underneath that, there is a whole set of how do you manage a browser in an enterprise? How do you protect the user who's operating in the browser? How do you secure the application and the data? So there's a whole set of next level features. But at the top level, let's say it's different than the consumer browser and fit for finish for the enterprise use case.
And what is it about the browser that makes it so vulnerable, and how has it been targeted in the past?
Yeah. So that's part of what was the genesis of the secure enterprise browser. And I usually, again, I'm engineer by training, so I categorize and bucketize everything. So I bucketize how a browser is vulnerable into two buckets, right? So we talked about how feature rich a browser is. That means that it has a lot of code, right? It has a lot of software, and within that software, there are zero-day exploits. So that's one way a browser is targeted. So a threat actor can direct you to a website and is able to exploit a zero-day vulnerability to compromise the browser. The second bucket of it is actually more interesting in my opinion. And that bucket of vulnerabilities is actually leveraging the capabilities of the browser to get you to do something. Like it could be something like you're always downloading files. Now I'm going to hijack that capability of downloading files to give you some kind of a malware or a ransomware, right? So that's a good way to think the two buckets is like, here is the zero-day exploits. How do you address that? And here are the browser capabilities that you needed for some, business purpose, legitimate reasons. But then how do you protect that to not be hijacked for malicious reasons?
What factors should organizations consider when choosing a secure internet browser?
Yeah, so the way I usually look at or advise when we have customer conversations is first thing you need to do is you need to manage your browser. So like we said with the consumer browser, there's so many capabilities. We direct people to a benchmark called the CIS Level 2 benchmark, which is already very popular and people know how to use it. So we say now bring your browser into the umbrella of that so you're able to manage the browser. The second most important thing to think about is how do you protect the user? So obviously the browser, your users are doing something in it. How do you protect them from the 0-day? How do you protect them from 0-hour phishing? All of those are considerations when you're picking an enterprise browser. So the two main things to think about is user experience. How are you delivering good user experience? And then the second one to think about is how do I protect the user?
And how are the big companies, big tech companies, I'm thinking the Googles, the Microsofts, how are they contributing to the enterprise browser market?
So I think, so Google and Microsoft, this is new to them, right? So a browser has been a star application for them as a business. But if you look at kind of the feature capabilities, they were all very driven by what you and I do when we go home. Make sure we have the right search results, make sure we have the right ability to shop and all of those kinds of things. Recently, I think they have started to focus on how do I take that footprint and bring it into the enterprise. So if you look at like Google Next in February, they announced a host of capabilities that focuses on DLP, managing the browser, and all of these important aspects that the enterprise needs. So they're stepping into it. We're collaborating with both Google and Microsoft. It's still new for all of us in a way.
And finally, Poornima, I'd love to know about Menlo's specific approach to enterprise browser security and what makes you different? What makes you stand out?
Yeah, so it's an excellent question, one I'm very passionate about. So the thing that makes Menlo stand out is we have the concept of a secure cloud browser. The secure cloud browser is your ability to air gap between your user and the internet. And that is the foundation of Menlo's enterprise browser to ensure that the users are protected no matter where they go on the internet. The second thing that's super differentiated for us is we let you keep your existing browser. So in the market, there are the ability to install new browser. We call them replacement browsers. Replacement browsers create a lot of user friction, right? If you have 250,000 users, adding a new browser can be extremely disruptive to the productivity of the organization. We let you keep your browser and bring all of the security and manageability to your existing browser footprint. So those are the two biggest differentiators we talk about is keep your existing browser, preserve the user experience, and a secure cloud browser has to be an aspect of how you approach your browser security.
Well, Poornima, it's been great speaking with you. Thank you so much for sharing all this insight.
Yeah, thank you very much for having us.
I've been speaking with Poornima DeBolle of Menlo Security, and for ISMG, I'm Anna Delaney.